It's like Ian Malcolm's theory. Life finds a way. I'm Chris Wolvie, the wrestling blogger who always tells it like it is. Okay, so I'm 3.5 for 6 for Money in the Bank, and here's why. First, I picked Liv Morgan as a secondary choice, so that's the half point. I said that if Becky Lynch didn't cash in on Bianca Belair, I'd call that a missed pick. Should have just said the women's Money in the Bank winner would cash in that night. And the men's Money in the Bank match doesn't count because someone was added in after I made the picks and he ended up winning. Hey, complain all you want about how I do my picks. Speaking of the men's Money in the Bank match, it was quite obvious that the addition of Theory into the match mere hours after he lost the United States title to Bobby Lashley was Mr. McMahon's doing. Instead of concentrating on the fact that the probe now claims he gave $12 million in hush money to 4 female employees, he decided to give the middle finger to the board of directors and somehow get Adam Pearce to let his protege in. I guess in kayfabe he's still in charge, even though the world knows better. Now, yes, it did make the match more interesting, or at least more interesting than a match with the kind of talent that were already a part of it could be, which is to say, not a great deal. Theory still played the coward card, asserting himself every so often to let everyone know he was still in the match, but letting everyone else take the big bumps before charging in at the last minute and taking the case. Just when I thought Otis was the least deserving winner in such a match, in walks Theory to prove me wrong. Well, not that Theory didn't deserve a push, mind you. He was the youngest ever United States champion in WWE, WCW, NWA history, after all. Last time we heard youngest champion was when Randy Orton was the youngest world heavyweight champion in 2004. And we've seen how his career has been doing until now. And Theory had to fight his way out of 205 Live and NXT to get where he is. Not too many NXT promotees make it too far lately. Ask Ember Moon, Enzo Amore, and more recently Keith Lee. But to give him an over 85% chance at the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, if they ever finally decide to make the merge permanent after SummerSlam, that might be a little too much too soon for my taste. I have always been of the mindset that if you make someone a champion so quickly after their debut, be it on Raw, SmackDown, or NXT, that seems to be their whole reason for sticking around. When they lose the title, they end up in obscurity long before their prime, and eventually they either get sent back to development hell or, if they're lucky, released. A belt around their waist should not be the sole reason they get a push. They should get pushed to have a shot at said belt. So yeah, my initial reaction to Theory being in the match, let alone winning it, was just like the reaction of everyone in Vegas that night. Anger and resentment mixed with a little WTF for flavor. But then I read the recap of the show on WrestleView, my go-to source for WWE news. And I read the recapper's tweets after Theory won. He stated that there's not a lot of young talent in the upper echelon of the WWE rankings, and that Theory is a good heel player and can play off his contract win excellently. And you know, he has a point. I mean, Roman Reigns has been keeping a vice grip on both WWE and Universal titles for almost 2 years now. He's the longest running world champion in WWE in decades. Not since Hulk Hogan has anyone held a world title for as long as Reigns has. But who's been challenging him? The same old, half of which are out of the WWE now thanks to the Great Purge of 2021, and the other half are injured or on to other pursuits. when it takes Brock Lesnar coming back from 3 months off to finish the limited number of matches on his contract to get a rise out of a worthy challenger for Roman? That's barrel bottom scraping time, ain't it? In fact, I dare say the youngest man to challenge Reigns for a title was Riddle a few weeks ago. Now I knew he wouldn't win, but as you saw in my predictions, I thought he would get around to the no more title matches rule by taking the briefcase last week. Even so, I was glad that fresher blood was being allowed to go after Reigns, and more so than anyone was going after Reigns outside of a house show. So maybe it is a good thing for Theory to be a future #1 contender. The question now is, will Theory actually cash in at SummerSlam like I thought any of the others in the Money in the Bank match would do? Any of the others I could see jumping on the loser of a last man standing match. Because let's face it, even the winner is going to be exhausted. But do you honestly think Theory is going to take one look at Lesnar or Reigns, even as out of energy as either of them will be after the match, and not be intimidated? I would think someone like Theory would wait for both of them to be too exhausted to move and then cash in, making it a triple threat match. Then all he has to do is wait for the ref to count them both out to 10, and voila, new champ. One thing for certain, Theory having that contract is going to end up spreading chaos throughout the WWE. Both Lesnar and Reigns will have to keep one eye on the entrance ramp to make sure that little selfie-taking punk doesn't come running in, bashing their heads with the steel briefcase in the hopes of KOing them. After all, both Lesnar and Reigns know about coming into matches after the others are drained of and stealing the win. Until then, Theory is going to brag to Lashley. Madcap Moss and others are going to try to steal the case away from him, I'm sure. Paul Heyman will have to make sure Reigns keeps at least a granule of attention during the SummerSlam match. And we'll have to get used to the natural order being upset about McMahon's boy introducing a little anarchy into the ranks and about everything becoming chaos. So yeah, he is a chaos Theory. And if he finds a way to win the title, or titles, a little chaos just might be what the WWE needs right about now. I'm Chris Wolvie with the Wrestling Blog, who always tells it like it is. Stay safe, pray for peace, and I'll see you